we go. Our progress report says we are at stage 5, paragraph page 330. Last headword was lottery, new word, type of lesson. So stage 5, 330, lottery. Okay, so let's start with revision. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. First question. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions with the word could, and you answer with the words would be able and vice versa, okay? Number one,
Okay.
if you were very, very tall, could you touch the ceiling? If you were very, very tall, could you touch the ceiling? Yes. If I
Yes.
were
If I
very,
were
very tall,
very, very
I
tall,
would be able
I
to
would be
touch the
able
ceiling.
to touch the ceiling.
Right? If you were a doctor, would you be able to help people who were ill? If you're a doctor, would you be able to help people who were ill? Yes. If
Yes.
I were a
If I
doctor,
were a
I
doctor,
could help
I could
people
help
who were
people
ill.
who are ill.
Right? If you were as strong as a horse, could you lift a man above your head with only one hand? If you were as strong as a horse, could you lift a man above your head with only one hand? Yes. If
Yes.
I
If
were as
I
strong
were
as a
as
horse,
strong as a
I
horse,
would be able
I
to
would be
lift a
able
man
to lift a
above my
man
head
above my
with
head
only one
with
hand.
only one hand.
Very good. Okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You're going
You
to
are
throw
going
your
to
pen
throw your
at
pen
the window.
at the window.
Do you think you could throw a stone further than I can? Do you think you could throw a stone further than I can? Yes or no?
No,
I don't
I
think
don't
I could
think
throw a stone
I could throw a stone
further than you can.
further than you can.
Very good. Is Napoleon alive? Is Napoleon alive? No.
No,
Napoleon isn't
Napoleon
alive.
isn't
He's
alive.
dead.
He's dead.
Very good. Okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? You're dropping your
You are
pen
dropping your
on the
pen
table.
on the table.
What's the pen doing? What's the pen doing? The pen's
The
dropping
pen is
on the
dropping
table.
on the table.
Very good. Okay. What would happen if I drop a glass on the floor? What would happen if I drop a glass on the floor? If you drop
If
a
you
glass
drop
on the
a
floor,
glass on the
it would
floor,
break.
it would break.
Very good. What's the longest you have ever gone without drinking a drop of water? What's the longest you have ever gone without drinking a drop of water? The longest
The
I've ever
longest
gone
I've ever
without
gone
drinking a
without
drop of
drinking
water
a drop of
is
water is half a day.
half a day. Very good. What happened to President Kennedy? What happened to President Kennedy? President Kennedy
President
was
Kennedy was
assassinated in
assassinated in
1963.
1963.
Very good. Did anything unusual happen to you yesterday? Did anything unusual happen to you yesterday? Yes or no?
No,
Nothing unusual
nothing
happened to
unusual
me
happened
yesterday.
to me yesterday.
Very good. Is it unusual for people or is it usual for people in your country to eat hot food for breakfast? Is it usual for people in your country to eat hot food for breakfast? Yes or no?
No,
It
it
isn't
isn't
usual for
usual
people in
for
my
people in
country
my
to
country
eat hot
to eat
food
hot
for
food
breakfast.
for breakfast.
Is it unusual for children to find coffee tasty? Is it unusual for children to find coffee tasty? Yes, it's
Yes, it's
unusual for
unusual
children
for
to find
children to
coffee
find
tasty.
coffee tasty.
Very good. What's the difference between still and yet? What's the difference between still and yet? The difference
The
between
difference
still
between
and yet
still and
is
yet
that we
is
use
that
still
we use
for
still
something that
for
is in
something that
progress
is
at the
in
moment,
progress at the moment,
whereas we use yet
whereas we use
for
yet
something
for
that
something
has not
that
begun
has not
or
begun
happened.
or
We
happened.
generally use
We
still
generally use
in
still
positive
in
sentences,
positive sentences,
whereas we generally
whereas
use
we
yet
generally use yet
in questions
in
and
questions
negative
and
sentences.
negative sentences.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. It's still summer.
It's still
It
summer.
isn't autumn
It
yet.
isn't autumn yet.
Very good. Has the lesson finished yet? Has the lesson finished yet? No, the
No,
lesson
the
hasn't
lesson
finished yet.
hasn't finished
It's
yet.
still in
It's
progress.
still in progress.
Very good. Have we finished speaking yet? Have we finished speaking yet? No, we
No,
haven't
we
finished
haven't
speaking yet.
finished speaking
We're
yet.
still speaking.
We are still speaking.
Very good. Have they gone home yet? Have they gone home yet? No, they
No,
haven't
they
gone home
haven't
yet.
gone home yet.
They're still here.
They are still here.
Very good. Has autumn begun yet? Has autumn begun yet? No, autumn
No,
hasn't
autumn
begun yet.
hasn't begun
It's
yet.
still summer.
It's still summer.
Will I still be in this country in 2 weeks' time? Will I still be in this country in 2 weeks' time? Yes, You'll
Yes,
still be
you'll still
in that
be
country
in that
in two
country
weeks'
in
time.
2 weeks' time.
Very good. Are the bottoms of your shoes clean? Are the bottoms of your shoes clean? No, the
No,
bottoms
the
of my
bottoms of
shoes
my
aren't
shoes
clean.
aren't
They're
clean.
dirty.
They are dirty.
When our shoes are dirty, what should we do? When our shoes are dirty, what should we do? When our
When
shoes
our
are
shoes
dirty,
are
we should
dirty,
clean
we
them.
should clean them.
Very good. Which do you think is the cleanest city you know of? Which do you think is the cleanest city you know of? I think
I think Tokyo
is
is
the
the
cleanest city
cleanest
I know
city
of.
I know of.
And which do you think is the dirtiest? Which do you think is the dirtiest? I think
I
ABC
think
City
ABC
is the
city
dirtiest.
is the dirtiest.
Very good. Which do you think is less unpleasant? The dirt of the city, the dirt of the country, of the farm, etc. Which do you think is less unpleasant? The dirt of the city, the dirt of the country, of the farm, etc. I think
I
the dirt
think
of the
the dirt of the farm
is less
is
unpleasant
less
than
unpleasant
the dirt of the city,
than the dirt of the
of the
city,
country,
of the
etc.
country, etc.
Very good. Do you remember if you were afraid of the dark when you were a little child? Do you remember if you were afraid of the dark when you were a little child? Yes or no?
Yes,
I
I
remember I was
remember.
afraid
I
of
was
the dark
afraid of the
when I
dark
was a little
when I
child.
was a little child.
Very good. Would you be afraid to go round the world in a small open boat? Would you be afraid to go round the world in a small open boat? Yes or no?
Yes,
I would be
I
afraid
would be
to
afraid
go round the
to
world
go around the
in a
world
small open
in a
boat.
small open boat.
Where do people shake when they feel very afraid? Do people shake when they feel very afraid? Yes, people
Yes,
shake
people
when they
shake when
feel
they
very afraid.
feel very afraid.
Very good. Okay, what's the best way to guard against becoming ill? What's the best way to guard against becoming ill? The best
The
way to
best
guard
way to guard
against becoming
against
ill
becoming
is to
ill
eat healthy
is
food,
to eat healthy food,
sleep well,
sleep
and
well,
do exercise.
and do exercise.
Very good. Must we be on our guard when we buy something from a man selling things in the street? Must we be on our guard when we buy something from a man selling things in the street? Yes, we
Yes,
must
we
be
must
on
be
our
on
guard
our guard
when we buy
when
something
we buy
from a
something
man
from a
selling
man
things in the street.
selling things in the street.
Very good. Why? Why? Because maybe
Because
we won't
maybe
be able
we won't
to
be able
find him
to
again
find him
if
again
there's a
if
problem.
there are problems
If there's a problem
if there's a
with the
problems
thing we bought.
with the things we bought.
Very good. What's the opposite of on your guard? What's the opposite of on your guard? The opposite
The
of on
opposite
your
of
guard
on your
is
guard
off your
is
guard.
off your guard.
Very good. What's the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry? What's the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry? The best way
The best
to
way
calm
to
somebody
calm
down
somebody
when
down
he's very
when
angry
he's very
is
angry
to speak quietly
is to speak
and
quietly
pleasantly to
and
him.
pleasantly to him.
Very good. Are we having calm weather at the moment? Are we having calm weather at the moment? Yes or no?
Yes,
We're having
we
calm
having
weather. Warmer?
calm weather.
Yes, we're
Yes,
having
we are
calm
having
weather at the
calm
moment.
weather at the moment.
Very good. What are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? What are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? The two ways
There are
of
two ways
forming the
of
second
forming the
conditional
second
with the
conditional
verb to
with
be
the verb to
are
be
if I was
or if I
and
was
if I were.
and if I were.
Very good. If you were a millionaire, where would you live? If you were a millionaire, where would you live? If I were a
If I
millionaire,
were a
I would
millionaire,
live in.
I would live in Hawaii
Why? Why? Because.
because it's a beautiful place.
Perfect. Very good. If I were you, which language would I speak? If I were you, which language would I speak? If you were me,
If you were
you'd speak
me, you'd
Japanese.
speak Japanese.
Very good. If you were a queen, what would your husband be called? If you were a queen, what would your husband be called? If I were a
If I
queen,
were a queen,
my husband
my
would be
husband
called a
would
king.
be called a king.
Very good. If there wasn't a light in this room, would we be able to see well when it got dark? If there wasn't a light in this room, would we be able to see well when it got dark? No. If there
No,
wasn't
if
a light
there wasn't a
in this
light
room,
in this
we
room,
wouldn't be
we
able
wouldn't
to
be
see
able
well
to see
when it
well
got dark.
when it got
We would
dark.
see
We
badly.
would see badly.
Very good. If there weren't any food in the world, would we all die? If there weren't any food in the world, would we all die? Yes, if there
Yes,
weren't
if
any
there
food
weren't any
in the
food
world,
in the
we would
world,
all
we
die.
would all die.
But if you weren't you, who would you like to be? If you weren't you, who would you like to be? If I weren't
If
me,
I weren't
I
me,
would like to
I
be,
would like to be, uh,
oh, let's say,
mm,
just like yesterday, Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway
Why? Why? Because
because she is beautiful and good actress.
very good. Okay. Can we use the expression if I were you to give advice to somebody? Can we use the expression if I were you to give advice to somebody? Yes, we can
Yes,
use the
we can
expression
use the
if
expression.
I were you
If I
to
were
give
you,
advice to
to give
somebody.
advice to somebody.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. If I were you,
If I were
I would
you,
eat
I
more
would
vegetables,
eat more vegetables.
or I wouldn't buy that
I
car
wouldn't buy the
if
car
I were you.
if I were you.
Very good. What's the biggest problem in your life at the moment? What's the biggest problem in your life at the moment? The biggest
The
problem
biggest
in my
problem
life at
in
the
my
moment
life at the
is
moment is learning English.
very good. Give me some advice. Give me some advice, please. If I were you,
If I were
I
you,
would.
I would
What
eat,
would I eat?
eat more vegetables.
More vegetables. Very good. I will. Okay, next. What's another opposite of the verb lose besides find? What's another opposite of the verb lose besides find? Another opposite
Another
of the
opposite
verb
of the
lose
verb
besides
lose
find
besides
is
find
win.
is win.
What are the three forms of win? What are the three forms of win? The three
The
forms
three
of
forms
win
of
are win,
win are
one,
win,
one.
won, won.
Very good. Does your country usually win at football? Does your country usually win at football? Yes or no?
No,
My country
my
doesn't
country
usually win
doesn't
at
usually win
football.
at
It
football.
usually
It
loses.
usually loses.
Do you do the lottery? Do you do the lottery? Yes or no?
No,
I don't do
I
the
don't
lottery.
do the lottery.
Very good. If you won £1 million, what would you do with it? If you won £1 million, what would you do with it? If I won a million
If I want
pounds, I would
£1 million,
buy
I would buy a lottery.
a lottery. Oh, I would buy the whole lottery. Very good. Okay, next repeat. Okay, so that's the end of our revision. Very good. Let's have new work. Very good. Okay, repeat. Useful,
Useful,
useless,
useless,
possess.
possess.
Very good. Okay, listen. Useful. The word useful is an adjective. If something is useful, you can use it to do something or to help you achieve something. For example, this pen writes well. This pen writes well. It means this pen is useful. Useless is an adjective. If something is useless, you cannot use it or it can't help you in any way. For example, we throw useless things away. Possess is a verb. It means to have or own something. For example, I own this pen, or I can say I possess this pen. Let's practice. Is this pen useless? Is this pen useless? No, that
No,
pen isn't
that pen
useless.
isn't
It's
useless.
useful.
It's useful.
Very good. What do we do with useless things? What do we do with useless things? We throw
We
useless
throw
things away.
useless things away.
What are the two most useful things you possess? What are the two most useful things you possess? The two most
The two
useful
most
things I
useful
possess
things
are
I possess are my iPhone
and
and the computer.
very good. Okay, next. Do you think that what you're learning now will be useful to you later on in life? Do you think that what you're learning now will be useful to you later on in life? Yes, I
Yes,
think
I
that what
think
I'm
that
learning now
what I'm
will be
learning now
useful to
will be
me
useful
later
to
on
me
in life.
later on in life
Why? Why? Because it will
because
help me
it
get
will
work
help me
and
get
speak to
more
people.
and
One more.
speak to people be-
Because it will
because
help me
it will help
get
me
work
get
and
work
speak to people
and speak to
from
people
other countries.
from other countries.
Very good. Next, repeat. Take by surprise.
Take by surprise.
Very good. Listen. If you say take by surprise, it means to happen unexpectedly, that you get surprised. For example, my mother gave me a new shirt on my birthday. I was very happy. I was really taken by surprise. Okay, let's. Oh, next. Let's have contraction of wood. Okay, so let's learn about contraction of words with the word wood. Okay, repeat. Contract.
contract,
Very good. Okay, listen. The contraction of I would is I'd. We can use contractions for all the person and say like I would, I'd, you would, you'd, he would, he'd, she would, she'd, etc. Okay, let's practice. What's the contraction of I would? What's the contraction of I would? The
the
contraction of I
contraction
would
of I would
is
is
I'd.
I'd.
Very good. What are the contractions of you would, he would, she would, he would, etc.? What are the contractions of you would, he would, she would, it would, etc.? The contraction
The
of you would,
contraction
he would,
he would, she would,
you would, etc.
we would,
are
etc.
you'd,
or
he'd,
you'd,
she'd,
he'd,
etc.
she'd, etc.
Very good. Okay, listen. From now on, we will always use the contractions when speaking and answering. Okay. Okay. Let's practice. If you went to the cinema this evening, which film would you see? If you went to the cinema this evening, which film would you see? If I went to the
If I
cinema
went
this
to the
evening,
cinema this evening,
I'd see.
I'd see ABC film.
Very good. If I were you, which language would I speak? If I were you, which language would I speak? If you were
If
me,
you were me,
you'd
you'd
speak.
speak Japanese.
Very good. If a plant had no water, would it die? If a plant had no water, would it die? Yes. If a
Yes,
plant
if
had
a
no
plant
water,
had no
it'd
water,
die.
it it'd die.
Very good. Okay, now let's talk about the contraction of wood with other words. Okay, listen. We can contract the word wood with almost any words. For example, instead of saying book would, the book would, we can say booked. Instead of saying who would, we say would. Okay, let's practice. What's the contraction of bookwood? What's the contraction of bookwood? The
The
contraction of
contraction
bookwood
of
is
bookwood
booked.
is booked.
What's the contraction of lessonwood? What's the contraction of lessonwood? The
The
contraction of
contraction
lessonwood
of
is
listenwood
lesson.
is listened.
What's the contraction of who would? What's the contraction of who would? The
The
contraction of who would
contraction of food
is
is
hood.
food.
What's the contraction of what would? What's the contraction of what would? The contraction
The
of what
contraction
would
of what would
is whatted.
is whatted.
Right? What's the contraction of which would? What's the contraction of which would? The contraction
The
of which
contraction
would
of which would
is
is
witched.
witched.
Very good. If you're a king, what would your wife be called? If you're a king, what would your wife be called? If I were a
If
king,
I were a
my
king,
wife be
my
called
wife be
a
called a
queen.
queen.
Very good. If you lost your way in a large city, who'd you ask? If you lost your way in a large city, who'd you ask? If I lost
If
my
I
way
lost my way
in a large city,
in a large
I'd
city,
ask a
I'd
policeman.
ask a policeman.
Wait, if today were Sunday, what did tomorrow be? If today were Sunday, what did tomorrow be? If today were
If today
Sunday,
were Sunday,
tomorrow'd be
tomorrow'd
be
be
Monday.
Monday.
Very good. Let's repeat. Sandwich.
Sandwich,
Cheese.
cheese,
Very good. Okay, listen. Cheese is a noun. Okay, cheese is a solid food made from milk, which is usually yellow or white in color and can be soft or hard. Okay, next word. Sandwich. Okay, so two pieces of bread with cheese, meat, cooked egg, etc. between is called a sandwich. For example, when office workers are too busy to leave their desk for lunch, they often just have a quick sandwich. Let's practice. When office workers are too busy to leave their desk for lunch, do they often just have a quick sandwich? When office workers are too busy to leave their desk for lunch, do they often just have a quick sandwich? Yes. When
Yes,
office workers
when office
are too
workers
busy
are
to
too
leave their
busy
desk
to
for
leave
lunch,
their desk for
they
lunch,
often just have
they often
a
just
quick
have
sandwich.
a quick sandwich.
Wait, what kind of things do we put in sandwiches? What kind of things do we put in sandwiches? We put meat,
We put
cheese,
meat,
eggs,
cheese,
etc.
eggs,
in
etc.
sandwiches.
in sandwiches.
Very good. Next, repeat. Fault,
Fork,
faultless,
fortress,
faulty,
faulty,
fix,
fix,
Very good. Okay, listen, fault is a noun. It is the synonym of mistake. For example, if a student makes a mistake in his pronunciation of or grammar, it's usually his fault, but it could sometimes be the teacher's fault. Faultless is an adjective. It means without mistake, without faults. For example, your pronunciation isn't usually faultless. My pronunciation isn't usually faultless. I sometimes make mistakes. Faulty is an adjective. It means not working properly or not made correctly. For example, my computer is not working. It's faulty. The word fix is a verb. It means to correct or repair something. For example, if my computer is faulty, I don't know how to fix the fault. No. So let's practice. Okay, so what's your biggest fault? What's your biggest fault? My biggest fault
my
is
biggest fault is
what? I drink too much coffee. I sleep a lot. I watch too much TV or being
to
lazy.
watch TV.
To watch TV for too long. Very good. Okay.
To
If your computer was faulty, would you know how to fix the fault? If your computer was faulty, would you know how to fix the fault? Yes or no?
know
If my
if my
computer is
computer
filthy,
is
faulty,
faulty,
I wouldn't know
I wouldn't
how to
know
fix the fault.
how to fix the fault.
Are your dictations usually faultless? Are your dictations usually faultless? No. My
No, my
dictations aren't
dictation
usually
aren't
faultless.
usually
They
faultless.
usually
They
contain
usually
mistakes.
contain mistakes.
Like if a student makes a mistake in his dictation, is it usually his fault or the teacher's fault? If a student makes a mistake in his dictation, is it usually his fault or the teacher's fault? If a student
If a
makes a
student
mistake
makes
in
a
his dictation,
mistakes in his
it's
dictation,
usually his fault,
it's usually his
but
fault,
it could sometimes
but it
be
could
the
sometimes
teacher's fault.
be the
The
teacher's
teacher's fault.
fault.
Very good. Okay, so now let's move on to our reading. Okay, very good. So reading is at stage 3, paragraph page 202. Last headword was agree. Okay, please start at paragraph page 203, headword add. Stage 3,
Ah,
203.
okay. Add. Uh, 14 plus 80 equals 94. What am I doing? You are adding 14 and 80.
Mm-hmm.
Is it complicated to add the numbers 15 and 30 together? No, it isn't complicated to add the numbers 15 and 30 together. It's simple. What do we sometimes add to our tea and coffee? We sometimes add milk and sugar to our tea and coffee. What do we add to a regular verb to form its past tense? We add the letters ed to a regular verb to form its past tense. Jump. Can you jump over this table with both your feet together? No, I can't jump over this table with both my feet together. Can you jump up and touch the ceiling? No, I can't jump up and touch the ceiling. Why not? Because the ceiling's too high. Can you jump as high as a house? No, I can't jump as high as a house. Corner. At. What's this? It's a corner of the table. Are you sitting in a corner of this room? No, I'm not sitting in a corner of this room. Can you sit at the corner of a round table? No, I can't sit at the corner of a round table. Why not? Because a round table has no corners. Where am I standing? You are standing at the corner of the table. What? Where am I standing? You are standing in the corner of the room. Ship, boat. Can we go by ship from Paris to Milan? No, we can't go by ship from Paris to Milan. Why not? Because both cities are inland. Is a boat larger than a ship? No, a boat isn't larger than a ship.
It's
It's
smaller.
smaller than a ship.
Very good.
Almost. Are we almost at the end of the lesson? Yes, we are almost at the end of the lesson. Does almost everybody in this country have a mobile phone? Yes, almost everybody in this country has a mobile phone. Desk, office, job. Where do we generally see people sitting at desks? We generally see people sitting at desks in offices and classrooms. In some jobs, can people work from home instead of going to an office? Yes, in some jobs, people can work from home instead of going to an office.
Very good. Okay, so we stop there